Hi, welcome to On This Day in Tudor History with me, Claire Ridgway, who I think you'll know by now. Now, where am I taking you back to today? Well, I'm taking you back to Queen Elizabeth I's reign. For On This Day in Tudor History, the 29th of May, 1593, Welsh religious controversialist, that's quite a mouthful, and a man regarded by Welsh historians as the pioneer of Welsh nonconformity, John Penry, was hanged at St Thomas a Watering in Surrey. Penry had been found guilty of publishing scandalous writings against the church after having been linked to the Marprelate tracts. These religious tracts, which attacked the established church, were written under the pseudonym Martin Marprelate and his sons, and published in 1588 and 1589 by John Penry and Robert Waldegrave. The publication of these tracts resulted in the Marprelate controversy, a pamphlet war between the tract writers and defenders of the church. The defenders included Thomas Cooper, Bishop of Winchester, writer and playwright John Lilly, writer and playwright Thomas Nash, and dramatist Robert Greene. I talked about the pamphlet war in my talk on Job Throckmorton on the 23rd of February, so I'll give you a link to that. But let's get back to John Penry. Now, Penry was a Welshman who hailed from Brecknockshire and who'd been educated at the universities of Oxford and Cambridge, graduating BA and MA. He would not be ordained as a priest because he was of the view that the present church was insufficiently reformed. Instead, he became a licensed university preacher. In 1587, he published a treatise on the state of the church in Wales, which, after he and Job Throckmorton, MP for Warwickshire, had pushed for it to be discussed in Parliament, saw Penry being accused of publishing treason and heresy. Penry was found guilty and imprisoned for a month in the Gatehouse prison. This trouble didn't put Penry off, and he published a longer work through printer Robert Waldegrave, which, as his biographer Claire Cross points out, denounced the bishops as soul murderers for their neglect of the people of Wales. Waldegrave's home was raided in April 1588, but Waldegrave went on to publish another tract by Penry in August 1588. Although Penry supported Job Throckmorton is thought to have been Martin Marprelate of the Marprelate tracts, historian Claire Cross states that the majority of historians believe that Penry played a minor part, if any, in the actual writing of the tracts, although he is associated with the secret press. The press was moved from place to place, including London, Farsley and Coventry, to escape detection. And while it was printing the Marprelate tracts, it was also being used to publish works by Penry. In 1589, Waldegrave left England for France for a few months due to his worries over the Marprelate tracts, and Penry worked with a new printer, John Hodgkins. The press was apprehended on a move to Manchester in August 1589, and Penry went into hiding before fleeing to Scotland with his wife Helen, or Eleanor, Godley, supported financially by Job Throckmorton in October 1589. Waldegrave also fled there. Penry published further religious works in Scotland, defending Scottish Presbyterians, and he also did a translation of a work by Theodore Beza. But after complaints from the English government, King James VI proclaimed Penry an outlaw in 1590. In late 1592, Penry travelled to London, where he became involved in a separatist church led by Francis Johnson, Henry Barrow and John Greenwood, preaching there and also petitioning for the release of members who'd been imprisoned. He also published a tract defending the separatists. On the 22nd of March 1593, Penry was arrested at Stepney after the vicar of Stepney told authorities of his whereabouts, and he was interrogated. He confessed to publishing 2 works during his time in Scotland, and then, during his imprisonment, he wrote a work in which he made clear his loyalty to Queen Elizabeth, despite his views on the church. Separatist leaders Henry Barrow and John Greenwood were hanged for treason at Tyburn on the 6th of April 1593. Penry wrote farewell letters to his wife and his daughters, deliverance, comfort, safety and sure hope, the eldest being only 4 at the time. And he also wrote one to the Separatist congregation. And on the 21st of May, he was tried, accused of sedition, of trying to overthrow religion and incite rebellion. The trial was suspended after Penry appealed to William Cecil, Lord Burleigh, against the court because they used information from his private papers that he'd had in Scotland. He also defended himself well, pointing out that far from encouraging rebellion, his teaching was the clean contrary. But when his trial reopened on the 25th of May, he was found guilty of publishing scandalous writings against the church. Penry appealed once more to Burleigh, but it was no good. Archbishop Whitgift hastened to draw up and sign his death warrant, which was also signed by Sir John Puckering, Keeper of the Great Seal, and Chief Justice Sir John Popham, who'd sat in judgment on Penry. On this day, in 1593, 30-year-old John Penry was just finishing his lunch when he was taken, fixed to a hurdle, and dragged to St Thomas of Watering in Surrey. There he was prevented from making a speech before he was hanged. Penry's work, however, wasn't over, as following his death, a seditious pamphlet was published stating that it was written by Mr. John Penry, a martyr of Jesus Christ. I'll give you a link to find out more about the Martin Marprelate press and controversy so that you can read all about that. Also on this day in Tudor history, the 29th of May 1533, the celebrations for Queen Anne Boleyn's coronation kicked off with a spectacular river pageant on the Thames. You can find out more about that in last year's video, which I'll also give you a link to. Thank you for joining me. You can subscribe by clicking that subscribe button just there, and please do. You can give me a like and leave a comment, and you can hit the bell to be notified as these videos go live, which is, of course, on a daily basis. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.